welcome back to Dicebreaker, where today I'm going to take you on a little trip around all the streets on a Monopoly board. Now, as we all know, there are about 5 billion versions of Monopoly at this point, so to be a little bit more specific, I'm going to take you around the OG UK Monopoly board set in London. Alright, you ready? Let's go! We're at Old Kent Road fire station, I guess. I didn't realise when I went to Old Kent Road that Old Kent Road is a very long road, and I just kind of followed like the map, city mapper, and came to where it told me to get off the bus. And it turns out that I could have gotten off like several bus stops ago, and I still would have been on Old Kent Road. So where I ended up getting off is kind of in the middle of nowhere. I decided to do this in front of the fire station because I thought that was probably the most interesting landmark around here. But other than that, there's just nothing. There's cars and like random little corner shops every now and again, but nothing special. So in my book, this can say brown. Not really fussed about this moving up anywhere. I don't know if there's like a bit. There must be like a bit which is more famous than this. Maybe I just don't know about. But again, I don't really come south of the river, so this is as much as I know. This is all I've ever seen of Old Kent Road. So unless on my way back I see something really cool, I'll update you. But yeah, brown was a good choice. Well done.
Community chest. You've won second prize in a beauty contest. Collect 10 Monopoly dollars.
Well, we've made it to Whitechapel Road. I struggled to find a sign around here, and there's like a kind of an old sign just here. Kind of see it, just above a CEX. It's a brown street, which I feel like, do I think that's right? Don't necessarily think it's wrong. I might be inclined to upgrade it even to a blue. No, do you know what? I'm happy with it being brown, I think. Like for me, so actually, just to give you a little bit of like background information, this here is a little market stall, and all along the street, not only are there shops, but there's loads of market stalls, which are quite nice. Selling clothes, there's also food stalls. So it's quite nice. It's I think it's like, I guess historically, and I don't really know if that's still true, like a kind of poor part of London. It's in East London, not far from Shoreditch, which again historically is kind of, or used to be, quite poor, but it kind of gets gentrified every few years. That's what a tour guide told me before. But yeah, there's not, other than this, as far as I know, there's not much, I guess, in my personal knowledge. In my personal knowledge of the area, I guess there's not a huge amount. What I really wanted to film, there's my favourite cinema in all of London is up this road, and I wanted to film this outside there, but I looked at the map and I realised it's on Mile End Road. It's on this, technically on the same stretch of road, but I guess at some point it turns into Mile End Road. So I couldn't do it because it would have been false information. But yeah, otherwise I think I would upgrade it. If that cinema was on Whitechapel Road, I would definitely upgrade this to at least a pink, because that cinema is amazing. But yeah, as it stands, I think brown is, in my personal opinion, is about right for this. We're at King's Cross in Pancras, or just King's Cross Station, I suppose. You can see the station behind me here. I mean, it's a station, right? So there's not much to say in terms of should it be a different color or not. It is what it is. But I've collected my first station, so onwards and onwards. So this card specifically mentions the Angel Islington, which there's technically like a Wetherspoons that's called the Angel, but I kind of assumed they didn't mean that. But there are some giant angel wings that are really well known in Angel, and I thought that might be a nice place to go to take this one off the list. Look, so pretty. I love Angel, by the way. This is probably one of my favourite places in London. My favourite comedy club is there. So I might actually just drop by there as well and say hi in terms of doing a little hello like this. Look, now I've got angel wings on my head. I have reached my final form.
Chance. Go back 3 spaces. Wah, wah.
And I've made it to Euston Road, baby! Look at this cool building behind me. That's pretty much the best thing at Euston Road. Although Euston Road seems to be like a really long road. It obviously goes like past Euston Station, it goes past King's Cross Station. I don't really know what else there is along there. It is a blue card. I feel like there's enough interesting-ish things, I guess, in terms of like stations you could travel from and probably other things that could probably go up 1 or 2. Could probably be like a pink, or I mean, oh yeah, pink would be the next one up. Could probably be a pink. I haven't made it to the pinks yet though, so I don't really know what the pinks have to offer. So maybe I'll change my mind later on. We'll just have to see, I guess. We're at Pentonville Road, which is the road that leads, it's very noisy, it's the road that leads from King's Cross to Angel, Islington. And I just realised that my favourite charity shop in probably all of London is on Pentonville Road. So this deserves to be way further up the line. I think if I was in charge of the Monopoly board, I'd probably put this as like, probably red. Like, I don't think it's like, orange or red, I think. It's not like a major attraction or anything. Like, I wouldn't put it like super high up, but it's like one of those places where like, the thing is I put Angel higher up as well. And when I take people to Angel, which I do, because my favourite comedy club is there, I often bring them to this charity shop as well because it's just really, really good. I've had friends like find amazing shoes and like, I don't know, trousers and lots of different things. I'm obsessed. So this, in my books, deserves to be way higher up. Unfortunately, there's no sign of the road anywhere along here, so I can't prove that it's there. But I will do a little video of the road sign in a second. But you can trust me, it's here, and I'm very excited about it. And I'm gonna go in and have a little shop very quickly. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. It's my lunch. This is pretend it's my lunch. See, I told you I wasn't lying. Hold on. There it is. And I can actually show you to prove that charity shop is on that road. You see it kind of behind me, the little grey sign there. So there you go. Favorite charity shop on this very street.
Community chest. Go to jail. Go directly to jail. Do not pass go and do not collect 200 Monopoly dollars.
Look, I found an actual street where the street sign is the same level as my head. I've made it. Mom. So Pall Mall, very well known Monopoly Street, and a pretty well known street in general in London. Although, to be honest, I got a bit confused because I thought Pall Mall was the street that led up to Buckingham Palace, the very famous red street. Turns out that's the Mall, and Pall Mall is the street that's like parallel to that. I had to have a quick Google because I was like, well, if it's not that famous street that leads to Buckingham Palace, what is Pall Mall? It's not much really. It's, it is a street that kind of comes off Trafalgar Square, just behind me. It's kind of like a fairly fancy street in terms of like the architecture. Apparently it was built up during the reign of King Charles II. And it's named after the sport that they played in like the 17th century, Pall Mall, which I think might have been like pronounced Pele Mele at some point. It's essentially a little bit like croquet, I believe. But that's all there really is to it. It is a pink street, so considering it's not the street that leads up to Buckingham Palace, I don't know. I would downgrade this to a light blue, I think. It's just, why is this even on the board? It's I'm almost scared to say it. It's kind of nothing to me. It's kind of nothing. I'm putting in a little edit. One thing that does happen on the Pall Mall that I'm aware of is that Gay Pride, the parade comes down the Pall Mall at some point. I mean, other stuff might happen here too like that, but that's the one that I personally know of that's got the biggest significance. Excuse me if it's stupidly loud here, but I'm in the middle of a roundabout and there's not really any way of getting away from the loud noises from the street. But you can kind of see on that sign behind me, that's Whitehall. And so down this street, that's Whitehall. And so Whitehall is actually quite a significant landmark. It's got 10 Downing Street along there. It's got the house, the Horse Guard Palace down there. And also you can kind of see the clock tower, which a lot of people refer to as Big Ben, but actually the clock tower is Queen Elizabeth II Tower and the bell inside is Big Ben, just in case anybody was wondering. So yeah, Whitehall is a pretty massive street when you consider what's not only what it's leading to, because on my other side here is Trafalgar Square. It connects Trafalgar Square, the Houses of Parliament, and then along it are like massive landmarks as well. So I think making it pink is a load of like what? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I think it would make more sense when you consider the significance behind it. If you were to make like Trafalgar Square, which is red, if you want to upgrade that to maybe a yellow or a dark green, you should at least make this road, I don't know, if red is a theatre district, I don't know, red, maybe even, I mean, at least orange, surely, maybe even yellow. I don't know. It definitely needs to be upgraded by 2, maybe even 3 colors, because making it pink doesn't make any sense, especially when you consider, hold on, I'm going to do 2 in 1 here, because, hold on. Back it up. This street behind me here, so it's just for reference, that's Whitehall. Next street over, this is Northumberland Avenue, which I had to Google because I was like, I have no idea what the significance is of Northumberland Avenue. Google didn't really help me. I got nothing for you. So when you consider that these 2 streets are the same color, yeah.
Can you please take a photo of us?
Sure. I was in the middle of a rant there. But a couple came over and interrupted me so I could take a picture of them. I think I was in the middle of talking about how, oh yes, Northumberland Avenue and Whitehall are both pink roads, but are both like massively different in like significance to London. Like, what is Northumberland Avenue? I don't know. I literally don't know. Maybe there's something I'm missing, something massive that I'm missing, but I couldn't tell you. And then Whitehall is massive. So like, I think Northumberland Avenue, first of all, I don't even think it should be on the Monopoly board, I'll be honest with you. Again, maybe there's something I'm missing. In that case, I don't know, let me know in the comments, I suppose. But the way it is now, and from what I know, I say take Northumberland Avenue off the Monopoly board or massively downgrade it. Because what the actual... A small edit. Northumberland Avenue does lead down to the river. But other than that, once again, I don't know what the significance is of it and why you'd even have it on the board. So I stick to my point. But I just wanted to put in that tidbit for anyone who's interested. Or Mrs. Marylebone Station. I have to say, I think I've been to the station once in my entire life. I've been living in London for like 6 years, and actually the time that I was here was a time when I wasn't living in London. So I think this might go to show just like how this is not like a mega station here. So once again, I'm kind of like fairly surprised it's on the Monopoly board, but I just had a little read to see if there was any information I could get. And apparently it was like the last kind of big line or the last kind of big train station that was built in London, or something like that. And it connected London to the north. So to like, I think it said Sheffield, Leicester, something like that. So I kind of get it in some respects, especially when you consider like when Monopoly was made. Maybe the station was a bigger deal back then. But I did read as well that like it almost closed down in like, was it 1980 or early 2000? I don't know, a while ago at least. 20 to 40 years ago, it almost closed down. That's how like little used, and Google kind of commented on how small the station is as well. So like, I feel like there needs to be an update. Has there been an update on Monopoly Board? I feel like they need to get rid of the station. I believe, did I check it earlier? And is the station between the pinks and the oranges? I think if anything, if you're gonna have this station on the board at all, put it like between the browns and the light blues, or just take it off entirely. There's like so many more well-known stations that like would even fit better. Like Shoreditch Station, for example, is pretty well known. I think Shoreditch High Street Station, is that more well known? I don't know, but it's a nice building, I have to say. But yeah, I don't get it for the Monopoly streets. So this is Bow Street. I didn't actually realize that I knew Bow Street before I came here. And then I realized that when I used to be a bicycle tour guide, I actually cycled along Bow Street all the time. I just never knew the name of the street. Bow Street is the street that's like directly parallel to Covent Garden. So I'm actually in front of the Royal Opera House here. It's the Royal Opera House. I've always wanted to go in there actually, so I've never seen a show there, but I'd really like to someday. And if you were to go like directly diagonal right now, like if you were to walk through the Royal Opera House, there's an entry to the Royal Opera House that comes from Covent Garden, which is like a lovely kind of old market square with loads of shops and cafes and things. It's like really famous historical place in London. I kind of thought to myself, why is, apart from being next to Covent Garden, which I mean lots of streets are next to Covent Garden, I kind of wondered like why is Bow Street like on the Monopoly board? So I had a quick look, and it turns out that the building I'm in front of here, which is now some kind of hotel, I guess, used to be it was like the first professional police station. It was the first police station for the first professional police in London, which like was created in 1749 or something, and this was their headquarters. So it was also the magistrate's office and the police station, which is now a hotel. And I'm pretty sure I know where the police have moved to as well. And it's not very nice. It's not very fancy, at least, especially when you compare it to this building. So that's why Bow Street is, I guess, on the Monopoly board. I think they were called the Bow Street Runners as well. I read that. So, yeah, I mean, I guess orange is fine with me. Like, I don't think I would upgrade it. I don't think I would necessarily downgrade it. I think orange probably makes sense. And that's a little bit about Bow Street.
Community chest, doctor's fees to pay. Please pay $50 immediately.
Alright, this is Marlborough Street, or I mean technically I'm on Carnaby Street if you look behind me, but that lovely old sign is coming off Carnaby Street, so I wanted to stand in front of it because look, it's like a lovely old building, or old style building at least. I don't know if it's actually old. Marlborough Street. Now, it's an orange street in Monopoly. A pigeon just flew at me. And actual Great Marlborough Street is the street that's kind of like behind me here. It's got the London Palladium. It's got, I don't know, just a bunch of restaurants, it seems, mostly. Nothing like massively special, but it's kind of got some special landmarks in and around it, obviously including the London Palladium. Carnaby Street, which is a very famous street. It would make more sense for them to have used Carnaby Street instead of Great Marlborough. But once again, Monopoly, whoever decided on the streets in that game has made an odd decision. Yeah, I mean, orange, I think it makes sense as an orange because, as I said, it's kind of like not super special in itself necessarily, but it's kind of got some like semi-special things in and around it. So yeah, I think they're probably about right with making it orange. But having said that, I think, again, it would have made more sense for them to swap in Carnaby Street. But maybe
think it's
when they made it, Carnaby Street wasn't a thing. I don't know. Like, you know, not as big a thing as it is now. I really don't know. Also, the other thing is actually about this. The card says Marlborough Street, and I almost went to Marlborough Street, which is just like a random little street, kind of southwest of Londonish. And I almost went down there, and then I thought, what's actually there? It just looks like a little tiny street and kind of in the middle of nowhere when in relation to London. And I decided to Google why it was on the Monopoly board. And then I read that Marlborough Street in Monopoly was named after Great Marlborough Street. And that's why I've decided to come here instead. Seeing as this makes a little bit more sense, but even at that, not like amazing. So that's Great Marlborough Street. All right, here's Vine Street apparently. I'd love to like turn around and show you that there was something interesting here, but it's literally just this like little tiny road that there's really nothing here. But it is Vine Street. I don't know if you can see that sign, but I will add in some B-roll so you can see that properly. Vine Street is a weird one because if you put in Vine Street into Google Maps, it will actually bring you to a place near Mayfair, like, yeah, in West London. But there is a Vine Street in East London, so near like Whitechapel, and which is what I believe this street is supposed to be. I believe that for two reasons. First of all, it would be weird to have a street that's in like near Mayfair as an orange. And second reason is because if you look up Monopoly streets, like UK map, whatever, it'll show you all the cards where they are on a map. I'll post it. I'll put it in edits. See here, it shows you the map like this, and you can see that Vine Street is shown as a place in East London. So I decided to go with that. So yeah, Vine Street here, there is nothing. What I will do is when I get to the dark blue streets, so Mayfair and Park Lane and all that, I will look for Vine Street, the one that's over there, and we can have a look and compare and see if that one makes like a little bit more sense, because for me, this one makes no sense. It's literally just like, anytime I put in Vine Street, it wouldn't even come up as a suggestion for me to come here. Like, it wasn't even listed as one of the possibilities. I had to put in Vine Street and then specifically put in like Tower City or something like that. So yeah. This should be like less than a brown street in my eyes, as it currently is. But we'll check out the other Vine Street and yeah, see if that makes more sense, or if Vine Street should be in fact be upgraded. So you can probably tell I'm filming this on a different day, probably by the colour of my hair. But anyway, I have come to the other Vine Street, which is near Mayfair, so more central London, and it's not much better than the other Vine Street that was in East London. If take a look back here, it's literally just an alleyway once again with like vans and people working, I don't know, on the vans or something. But yeah, it's Vine Street. I don't understand why it's on the Monopoly board at all, because there's two Vine Streets that I've found, and both of them are just like random alleyways. So like, who decided that was going to go on the Monopoly board? I don't know. But for me, get it off or make it a brown or something. Like, get rid. And I'm at the Strand, which is a red street, and if I actually turn around, you'll see this really beautiful building. It's the Royal Courts of Justice. So yeah, it's a red street, and I think that's like deserved. I kind of almost see this as more of a dark green street even, maybe, so I'd probably upgrade it one or two. Even yellow would do. I'm surprised it's red in a way. There's quite obviously a lot of importance to this street with it having the Royal Courts of Justice, but it's also just like a really quite a nice stretch of like buildings. They've even got, hold on, if I move over here, they've even got like a fancy Pret. I guess it's because it's across from the Royal Courts of Justice maybe. But that building there is a Pret, and it's pretty snazzy as Prets go. So yeah, I'd probably upgrade this by one or two, but other than that, it's not far off. And look how pretty. And this is Fleet Street. I've actually only taken a few steps up from the Strand to get here. Very handy for filming purposes. Fleet Street, I was like trying to rack my head this morning as to why I know Fleet Street, because it's one of those streets that kind of just rings a bell, or like it's quite famous, right? So I googled it, and it's obviously, I say obviously now because I've read up on it, but I did remember that Fleet Street is like what all the like newspaper stuff used to be. I think I read that they like moved at some point, so they moved out to Wapping or something like that. But yeah, this used to be where all like where the newspaper stuff happened at some point. Don't ask me when. And you can actually see that there's a coffee shop that's called, what's that called? The Fleet Street Press, I think. So there's like, I think there's lots of like nods towards that history of the street here as well. But what I recognize it for slightly more is actually from the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. And it took me a while to remember that, but yes. So this is Fleet Street, quite an old street, and it is also a little bit where the Royal Courts of Justice. I'm actually stood in front of the Royal Courts of Justice now as well, because it's quite a long building. It is a red street, and I think even though I said for the Strand I would upgrade it 1 or 2 because of the Royal Courts of Justice, this Fleet Street has like kind of the butt of the Royal Courts of Justice, but it's got quite cool history. I think I would still keep it at red. I don't know why. This is just the way my brain is working with the grade system. But I think red kind of suits it. So yeah, I think that works. Always keep following me. We're at Trafalgar Square. Look, that's Admiral Nelson up there on that pillar. This is the actual square behind me. When I used to be a tour guide, I actually stopped by Trafalgar Square a lot, so I do have some fun facts to share about it. It is a red street. I'll talk about whether or not I think that should get an upgrade in a second. But I mean, in some ways, it deserves to be a red street in my mind because, as I said earlier, I personally at least, associate the red streets on Monopoly to be kind of like theatre, arts district kind of thing. And this is very much part of that. We're like on the back end of Soho. I mean, you've literally got the National Gallery behind me. We've also got St. Martin's in the Fields over here, that's church, where they do a lot of kind of classical music concerts. But it's also like a place that's not just of like tremendous historical significance, but also like in modern London history, I guess. Like the gallery is kind of both. When the square was made, it didn't actually have these fountains initially. They were added in later because this is a place where Londoners gather for like massive events like Chinese New Year, Pride comes through here. Lots of political like strikes and things like that, because actually if you go down, hold on, let me see if I can show you, if you go down that street, that'll take you to Downing Street and the Houses of Parliament and things. So it's like, also, if you put in London into your sat nav, it should take you to Trafalgar Square because this is considered like the center of London. So like it's got huge significance to London. And so you think that it should be way up higher, like, I mean, I guess we're talking about money, but surely like considering how massive this place is to London culturally, yeah, surely this should be up higher, at least a dark green, if not even a navy, I reckon. There's also a fun thing here. Hold on, I'm actually stood beside one of the pillars. So the square has on each corner a pillar. It's quite hard for me to point because it's quite hard for me to see. There's a pillar here, there's a pillar here, and they all have like fairly important people in history, don't ask me who. But the one behind me, they ran out of money, and so this one was actually left empty for ages, and then eventually they decided to put like art installations up here, so that this changes every, I don't know, year or so. I guess it depends on the actual installation, I don't know. But currently it looks like a kind of a melting ice cream which has a fly on one side, and the other side it's got a drone. And I'm sure there's a lot of symbolism behind that, but I don't know it, so don't ask me. But yeah, definitely Trafalgar Square deserves to be way up higher. But at the same time, I kind of get it. So, I don't know, I'm torn. This is probably the one that I'm most torn with. Because I kind of get it, but I also think it deserves better. Well, this is Fenchurch Street Station. I'll be honest, I've lived in London 5 or 6 years, and I don't think I've ever even heard of Fenchurch Street Station, so I'm surprised that it's even on the Monopoly board. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but I feel like when I looked earlier, it might be between the pink and the oranges. I could be wrong. But either way, I think if it's on the Monopoly board at all, which obviously it is, it should be near the Browns for me, because I've never even heard of it. It's where does it even go? What trains go there? I couldn't tell you. There's so many other stations that would have made a lot more sense, that are more famous and bigger, or I don't know. Bleh. Take Fenchurch Street Station off Monopoly. That's all I have to say about that. And here we are in Leicester Square. We've made it to one of the yellow streets. Whoop, whoop. I'm actually going to move away a little bit now from that sign, because it's a pretty busy thoroughfare, and I don't want to be in people's way while I'm talking about Leicester Square. Leicester Square is pretty famous. I don't think I have to say much about it. It's where a lot of the big cinemas are, and they have movie premieres here. The cinemas here are also stupidly expensive for tickets, so I don't know. That's what I know about it. Down this street behind me, hold on, let me just turn around. Down here is the famous Prince Charles Cinema that plays great films. I've never been, but again, I've been meaning to go. It's another place that is on my list of places to go, even though I've been here for a long time. But they play things like The Room, and they do sing-along films. I think they do a sing-along Christmas Carol around Christmas as well, which is really cool. Usually you'd get lots of buskers around here, but I don't know if it's because it's Sunday and it's just quiet because of that, or if it's because there's a pandemic, or if it's because of both. I don't know. Also, I think one of the some of the radio stations are based in Leicester Square. So yeah, pretty happening place. It is yellow, which I think when you think about some of the other streets, is probably about right. I'd keep it as a yellow. I think that makes sense to me. Yeah, Leicester Square. And this is Coventry Street. I tried to Google to see if there was anything particularly interesting about Coventry Street, other than it's quite a small street that connects Leicester Square and Piccadilly Circus. So I'm pretty much stood by Piccadilly Circus, which is quite a famous London landmark. It's where the couple of billboards are, and a big fountain that you often see on TV. And then Leicester Square, which was obviously where all the cinemas are and the premieres and stuff. And it's just this really small street, and that's all it is. It's a yellow. I guess it's fairly central. It connects to massive London landmarks, and it's got things like the Book of Mormon on it, and the Hard Rock Cafe, the Lego shop. I don't know if it can if it's a yellow. I don't think I'd consider this a yellow street. I can see, I guess, to some extent why they've made it a yellow, but for the fact that it's just the street connecting to famous landmarks, I'd probably be more inclined to make it, I don't know, a pink, something like that. I don't know. Yellow does not make any sense to me. I would downgrade it several streets. And now we're at Piccadilly. Piccadilly is, pretty famous landmark. If I turn around here, you might recognize that fountain or the big billboard thing. Pretty well known area. It's also not hugely far away from Leicester Square, Trafalgar Square. We're kind of around the corner from Buckingham Palace and things as well. So it's a yellow, I would probably upgrade it to a dark green, to be honest. Although I haven't been to the dark greens, and to be honest, I'm not really sure what the dark green ones are, so I might change my mind on that yet. But I feel like it could do better. But I definitely would not downgrade it. I think at least a yellow, if not higher. There's Regent Street. I didn't actually have to move very far away from Piccadilly because that's the fountain over there. So Regent Street is one of the streets that comes off Piccadilly Circus and goes up to Oxford Street. So it's a pretty big street. I think it's like where a lot of designer shops and things like that are. I never really come down here, I'll be honest. So I'm about to walk down the street and kind of find out more about it, I guess. But I'm pretty sure it's just lots of shops. Considering that, I don't know like what historically, if there was like a massive significance for Regent Street. I feel like I would downgrade it, but only to like a yellow, because it's quite an expensive street and it does still have like a fair amount of significance that I'd kind of keep it around where it is, but I'd maybe just downgrade it to a yellow. I've made it to Oxford Street and oh my lord, it's busy. I'm here at a weekend, which probably doesn't help. Also, it's impossible to get away from people, so I was like, I'm gonna have to wear a mask for this part. Oxford Street is pretty self-explanatory. It's very, very famous retail street in London. It's a dark green. I think that's probably about right, considering what the street is and where the street is. I'd say yellow or green is fine. So yeah, nothing much to say about Oxford Street, to be honest. You can stay cool. No, you're not cool, Oxford Street. But yeah, woo, Oxford Street. Hey, I'm just dying to get out of here, to be honest. So this is a very short video. Ah!
Oh my god, Community Chest, it's your birthday! Collect 10 Monopoly dollars from each player. Happy birthday, Han.
Well, this is Bond Street. I don't really have much to say about Bond Street. Once again, I did some research to see what was special about Bond Street and I guess why they would maybe put it in Monopoly. Google says it's like a street that has a lot of high-end stores, retailers and stuff, but I feel like Regent Street is more of that. Like if I look down the street, I can see an EE shop, a JD Sports, a Boots, a H&B. Didn't even know those things were still around, although it looks like it's closed. It's a lot of, to be honest, it's a lot of closed and like building site things. So if I actually turn around, this side of the street is entirely boarded up. There's like not much going on here. So I don't know, maybe that's the way it used to be and it's not like that anymore. But I would massively downgrade Bond Street to, where would I put it? Probably like an orange, to be honest. Like other side of the board downgrade, I think, is Bond Street for me. Sorry, Bond Street. We've made it to Liverpool Street Station and I just had a look at a Monopoly board because I thought to myself, Liverpool Street Station would make sense to me in my head if it was like between the pinks and the orange streets. I think that makes the most sense. I mean, I don't know why, but I think it's like it's a nice station. It's like fairly big, but like not as big as King's Cross, for example. Like King's Cross for me, like when you consider all the stations that they've used in the game, would probably be the one that I put like between the Greens and like Mayfair and Park Lane. But I had a look at the board and weirdly Liverpool Street is the one that they've put between the greens and like the dark blue like navy ones, and it just makes no sense because this is East London, first of all, It's like where you go to Shoreditch, which is like the cool, like hipster area of London. And like, so geographically, first of all, it doesn't make any sense. I think like size-wise, for the size of the train station, like as I said, it's a big station. It takes you, I think, a little bit out of London. But for the most part, it's like one that connects a lot of London together-ish. But again, nowhere near like King's Cross. I don't know, for me, like my mind boggles thinking about the fact that where they've placed this. So weirdly, I didn't think I'd have much to say about any of the stations, but it turns out I do about this one.
Chance. Money grab. Take all $100 banknotes and throw them into the air. All players race to catch them. Keep what you catch and put any banknotes that land back in the bank.
Well, we're at Park Lane, and you're going to have to excuse the incredibly loud noises that are constantly going on here from the street behind me that has like sports cars and I don't know what kind of cars. But this is Park Lane. Park Lane is obviously dark blue on the board, and it kind of deserves to be dark blue on the board, I think, as well. It's got, I'm actually right next to, you can't really see it, but I'm right next to Grosvenor House, which is a very famous and very expensive hotel right by the park. If I turn around across from this really busy kind of highway, I was going to say, is Hyde Park, obviously very famous and massive park that will have festivals on in the summer, Winter Wonderland in the winter, all sorts of things going on there all the time. So this is like prime realty along here, and everything is like super expensive. I'm pretty sure you've got some car dealers along this road as well. But yeah, I mean, I think the two dark blues can stay where they are as far as I'm concerned. Alright, I know that sign doesn't technically say Mayfair, but Mayfair is actually an area in London, so it's quite hard to get a picture of me in front of a sign. But I followed the map to what the map considers Mayfair. So if you were to look at a map right now, I'd be there standing waving up at you because I'm where the map says Mayfair. Mayfair is like a rich area in London, essentially in West London. So I'm in that area, and I've been in that area for a while, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, Grosvenor Street is pretty well known. Grosvenor is a pretty well known street anyway. So I'm going to count this as Mayfair. I mean, I think it can stay as it is. I don't need to downgrade it or upgrade it. Mayfair is Mayfair. Everybody knows Mayfair. Is there a more expensive street? I don't know. Can't tell you, but Mayfair.
And so concludes our little jaunt around the streets of London. I hope you enjoyed seeing the Monopoly streets in real life and can now play a more informed game of Monopoly. Thank you so much for joining me on this silly little excursion today. Do hit that like button if this video tickled you, and subscribe if you'd like to see more tabletop related content like this in the future. That's it from me for today. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, have a lovely day.
Wait. Well, we've made it to Liverpool. See it, say it, sorted. We've made it to Liverpool Street Station, and I just had a look at a Monopoly board, thinking... Yes! Oh, yes!